What's up, you guys? SlimXTeamSymmetry here to bring you guys a new video today, and this is gonna be probably my last video before the ban list reveals itself on Friday. And I kind of just got this idea for this video a couple minutes ago. I was thinking, like, I was reading through some of my messages, stuff people were asking me, and people were asking me a lot of things about the next format. And clearly I can't give people any definite answers because I don't know the list. Majority of you don't know the list. I don't think anyone except Konami knows the list, and they know exactly what's gonna happen. But then I thought to myself, for kind of a last hurrah video, I want to make a video on, and the title will, self-explain itself, is what if Dragon Rulers never existed? What if this deck never came to be? What if these dragons, Blaster, Tidal, Tempest, Redox, and all their baby offsprings never existed? What if they never came to this game? How different would our game be right now? And I thought, this could be a really exciting video because I'm going to really open it up to the comments. I'm going to open it up to you guys because I have my opinions as a player, but not being a super competitive player that goes to every single event and, follows everything to a T, I can't really give you guys like the overall answer for every player. I know a lot of players are going to speak differently on it. So I'm just going to give my little 2 cents. So in my mind, if these dragon rulers never existed, even though the babies are gone, if these dragon rulers themselves, the main big babies, the big dragons and the little dragons never existed, I feel that the format would be just so different. I'm not saying we'd change anything. I'm not saying we would knock the ban list or anything. I'd say we'd still, hit Super Rejuvenation, hit cards like that so that this deck could not even, get the spawn of an idea for people. I would leave, the ban list alone. I would leave, Storm ban, Reborn ban, stuff like that. And imagine if we were playing in the format like right now without Dragon Rulers. What would the format be like? And I thought to myself, and I thought, a lot more decks would be winning these events. Not just topping, but winning these events. And I thought about it, and I was like, decks like Black Wings especially, the fact that you have 3 Whirlwind, you have 3 Colute, you have pretty much everything you could need for that deck. I feel that that would be one of the most played decks for the reason that it's a good stun deck. It can control the game with Icarus Attack and a lot of other cards, Colute. It can also, just outphase decks because Whirlwind just gets you constant pluses. And not only that, it's a very cheap deck. And it made me think, that's pretty dope that decks like that would, be able to win events. I could see that deck doing well. I could see Geargia doing well. Not even like anti-meta Geargia. I mean like straight up Geargia. If you didn't have to fear Blaster Pop and stuff like that, I think the deck would still be very relevant. I feel Mermails would be very relevant. Mermails are still a really, really good deck. I've played against them a lot, and I think the deck would still, be a threat in the game. I feel that even though if they didn't have Tidal, they could still, find a way to do other plays without this card. So that's one thing, is that I thought to myself, Mermail would still be a deck that's played a lot. Blackwing would still be a deck that's played a lot. Prophecies would be pretty OP. I honestly think Prophecies would be one of the best decks of the format. If we left the ban list alone and we left, just took out the Dragon Rulers and we made it to where all the other decks survived, I could see that deck doing really well. I could see, I mean, it lost Spellbook of Judgment, but other than that, it had a lot of power. The deck is still really good. I really like the deck. I think Spellbook of Fate is the nuts. Like, that card is stupid, honestly. Like, it's crazy. Decks like Evil Swarm. Now, Evil Swarm would be kind of a loaded pistol for the fact that it was designed to shut down decks like Water and decks like Heretics and this deck. But if this deck didn't exist, how prevalent would Evil Swarm be? And I think it would still be a prevalent deck for the fact that it does have a very good Water matchup. Pike is still a bitch. Pike and Heavy Infantry, if you don't have Forbidden Dress, Safe Zone, or any of those cards to protect your Ophion. But I still could see where Evil Swarm would be a top contender. I honestly think its spot on the list would not really move. I feel that it would still just be a very solid deck in this format. I also think other decks would have a chance. Hunders, you guys saw second place on the Montreal ARG circuit. Thunder Family, you guys. Decks like that would see the light of day and would not have to main deck triple emptiness, triple iron wall to have an advantage over dragons. The one thing that I think that would mostly affect the game right now if dragons didn't exist is you wouldn't have to main deck your side deck. You wouldn't have to throw in iron walls, throw in goes in matches, throw in Vanity's Emptiness into your deck when you could use better cards to combat the meta. You would be able to actually play your deck and not use cards that hinder your deck. When Evil Swarms run Imperial Iron Wall, it sounds amazing, Ophion Iron Wall, broken, but you know, sometimes you'll top deck Kirkion and you'll be like, oh wait, I can't banish because of Iron Wall, and it can suck. So that would be one really great thing that would happen is your side deck would actually be just that, your side deck. Cards like Imperial Iron Wall and Vanity's Emptiness, they would be tech cards in your side deck. You would side them only if you feared, like, if Bottomless was still at 2 or 3 and D Prison and cards like that, that banish cards that could be a real problem, you would be able to stop them. Iron Wall would be good still against Prophecy because of Fate, but DNA Surgery would probably be better and things like that. The whole side deck would change. I don't think people would be siding Electric Virus as much. I don't think Max C would still be played, obviously. I don't know if it would be played in a full set in the main deck and or side deck. I think Effect Veiler would go up in play. I think a lot more people would play Effect Veiler because you'd want to stop problematic decks and you wouldn't have to worry about Dragon Rollers. And I could just see a lot of other decks doing well, Machina Gadget being one of them, Madolche's being one of them. You know, a lot of decks, you know, as a lot of more decks come out, Ghost Tricks, Trap Tricks, Noble Knights, all those decks, as they're continuing to come out, had Dragons not existed, I could see those decks doing really, really well. I could see Lavels being really, really good, being able to shooting Quasar OTK the opponent, like, you know, it's pretty crazy. And I could just see a lot of decks doing well. I don't think Tempest Dragoonity or Dragoonity would exist. I think if people played Dragoonity, it would be standard Dragoonity. I think Constellars would be an amazing deck. I think Constellars are already an amazing deck, but I think by themselves as a stun deck that's walking compulses, they do very well. And even though they have a good dragon matchup, I feel that they could get past, you know, other decks as well. So those are just my thoughts, you guys. I want to, you know, I don't want to make this video long. I want to open this up to you guys, and I want to ask you the real question today. I'll even put it in the description. How do you think the game would be played right now if Dragon Rulers did not exist? No Dragon Rulers, no Super Rejuvenation. You can still use Return, you can still use Sixth Sense, all that stuff. I'm not going to knock those cards because those cards were added to the Dragon deck to give them OP power. I'm talking about right now, if these Dragons did not exist, how do you think the game would be played right now? You know, feel free to leave your comments below. What deck do you think would be #1 and why? What decks do you think would have a chance? Do you feel every deck would have a chance? Because in my mind, I could knock one deck, but then, you know, I could be wrong. I could see almost every deck having a chance if Dragon Rulers never existed. So anyways, leave me your thoughts below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thumbs it up. We'll have the leak list on Friday, and I will definitely try to make a video on that as soon as I know it, as well as every other channel on here. But we all have different opinions. We all have different audiences, so I hope that overall we'll give you the best explanation for how the ban list goes come Friday. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs it up. Please leave your comments below, and thank you for watching.